Hello. Today we will be learning about tooling change for the Burr Oak Tube Bender. The Burr Oak Tube Bender is a large manufacturing machine that pulls and straightens a certain length of metal copper tubing, then bends it into a hairpin shape to be used later in the production of heating cores, evaporators, and condensers. The copper tubes used on the machine are typically a standard 0.375 inches, but you will often have to change the tooling on the machine in order to create a specific size bend for that tube. This lesson will cover how to remove spacers in order to change from a larger, standard 1-inch bend to the smaller 0.8-inch radius bend. To go from a small to a large bend, simply reverse these steps to remove the spacers to account for the smaller bend size. Before we begin, make sure you are wearing hearing and eye protection and the machine is turned off, and then continue with the tooling change. In order to correctly identify which size bend is needed for that work order, refer to the routing slip for that part. If the size of the bend is not on the routing slip, it is best to refer to the blueprint, as shown here, for the size of the bend you are making. Here are the most common part numbers for the tubes and their corresponding bend size. However, always refer back to the blueprint if you have any doubts. Depending on the length of tube you are bending, you may have to add the bracket leg and other catch pan sheet for longer tubes, or take them out for short tubes. These can be found on or near the machine. Red Dot uses different length boom fixtures to guide the hairpin tubes, so use the one that's smaller but closest to the length of tube you are bending. Loosen the screws on the block that holds the guide tubes and push them aside. Remove the fixture from the machine by loosening the set screws, then place the fixture to the side. Loosen and remove the clamp assembly and set this to the side, and then loosen the 4 bolts on the mandrel keeper as well as the wiper block. Then lift the retainer bar up. Remove the wiper block and clamp assembly using a set screw and separate them. Insert the 80 radius spacer all the way into the slot and snug tighten the mandrel keeper until it is secure. Then place the wiper block spacer and the clamp assembly where they were previously and put the retainer bar back over them. Retighten the 4 bolts for each block, but not all the way at first. You want to get each block as close to even as possible and make sure to use a crossing pattern when loosening or tightening these bolts. This assures they are being tightened evenly. Once the blocks are even, power the machine, manually move the strip cart forward with the strip button, and fully tighten all bolts at this time. For tubes less than 12 inches, be sure to remove the spacer where the guide tubes are by bending the bend head with the bend button, loosening the 4 screws, and removing the spacer block. Also, remember to replace the threaded rod blocks which stop the rods from going too far in and bending the stripper rods. There is one on each side of the machine and both must be replaced or the stripper rods will be damaged. Here you can see the difference between the brackets, plus the spring that goes on the stripper rod. Lengthen the tube length on the bend side until the rods slide out of the brackets and you can remove the 2 screws. Place the other bracket in the same spot. It's easier if you set the screw back in the bracket beforehand. Once the bracket is secure, place the spring on the stripper rod. Move to the control panel and slowly reduce the tube length until you can line up the rods with the bracket hole. Then reduce it farther until it is close to the length you need to work with that part. Finish by hand tightening the nut to the spring. Now you can retract the strip cart using the strip return button. Place the 80 radius top clamp assembly where it was previously. Verify you are using the correct one for this bend size by checking the markings on the side, where the 0.375 inches is the tube diameter and the second number is the size of the bend. Then place the boom spacer in the slot under the previous boom fixture. Then place the new fixture on top of that. Retighten the fasteners until the fixture is secure. Remove the guide tubes on the fixture and replace any that are severely damaged. Line them up by evenly spacing them apart from the wiper block with your Allen wrench. Do not fully tighten the guide block yet. Start to inch the tubes to the guide tubes using the feed button. Align the tubes using the raise or lower straightener adjustment buttons near the catch pan. Continue feeding the tube until it reaches inside the bend head. Now, repeatedly press the clamp button while fully tightening the guide tube block and the 4 screws on the top clamp assembly. If you are using the optional tube end sizer, check to make sure it is lining up correctly by bending the machine manually and adjust the mounting plate as necessary. Run the tubes manually to check if the change has been done correctly. If the machine cannot function, refer to the troubleshooting guide found in the operator maintenance manual and try to fix the issue. If you cannot get the machine to run, call your supervisor or maintenance for help. Before we're done, let's go over some evaluation criteria regarding tooling change for the Burr Oak tube bender. Number 1. The operator correctly relates the two radii used on the tube bender and can tell what the differences are. This means the operator knows how to tell the difference between 80 radius and standard radius bends and what to change for each. Number 2. The operator identifies which radius requires spacers to be added and what tooling should be changed for that bend. This means the operator knows how to remove or replace spacers and tools for different radius bends. And number 3. The operator identifies which tube lengths require the stripper rod brackets to be replaced. This means they know how to change the brackets for tubes less than 12 inches in length. That's all you need to know about tooling change when operating the Burr Oak tube bender.
If you have any questions, be sure to ask your supervisor or coworkers for guidance, and thank you for your contribution toward making Red Dot a better company.